Let's be honest, the AR-15 market is a chaotic swamp of accessories. Everywhere you look, you have someone pushing some fancy gizmo, a tactical doodad, or some flashy part that swears it'll make you a tier 1 operator overnight. But here's the hard truth. Most of that stuff is a complete waste of money. So how do you cut through all that noise? How do you know what's actually worth your hard-earned cash? What I'm going to do is give you 7 categories of upgrades for you to consider, and then I'm going to give you a good, better, best in each one of those categories for products in most of those categories where it makes sense. By the end of this, you'll have a clear roadmap for a better rifle, and you'll know exactly which upgrades to laugh at and just scroll past. Coming in at number 7, what I would say is the single most important accessory for any rifle is a good sling. A lot of people overlook the sling. I'm looking at you, Greg, but it's a core piece of gear that is useful for weapon retention, stability, and control. And let me explain why. The sling that comes with any out-of-the-box AR, like a PSA 15 or an M&P Sport, is usually nothing. That leaves you awkwardly holding a 7-pound rifle all day at the range, and that gets really old really fast. Trust me, I'm speaking from experience when cameraman Sam asked me to hold a 10-pound rifle all day out at the range and stay perfectly straight. Thanks for that, Sam. So the sling that I'm recommending here is the Magpul RLS 2-point sling. Now, this sling is not going to be the fancy one with the quick adjustment. It doesn't have QD points to quickly attach or detach it from your rifle, and it's not going to be the most unique looking sling on your rifle once you attach it. But let me ask you, do you really need all of those features? Because you know what else this sling doesn't have? It doesn't have the extreme cost that those other slings are going to demand from your wallet. Instead, this sling comes in at just around less than 20 bananas or so, which is a real steal if you ask me. If you're a real quick detach snob like me, then you could pick up some of these UTG sling swivels. Simply loop your sling through the swivels and boom, you have a QD compatible sling for under 30 bananas when you pair these two together. From there, if you consistently find yourself doing fast transitions to your sidearm, or you're wearing a ton of different gear every time you go out to the range and you're sick of adjusting your sling every time before you go out to accommodate that change in gear, then you could spend the extra money later on and get something different, like the Magpul MS4 sling, for example. This one has built-in QD points and gives you the ability to swap between either single point or dual point configurations. It also has the super adjust mechanism that lets you adjust how long or short you want the sling to hang in seconds. If you want the gun to hang pretty close to you, then make it nice and tight. And when you bring the gun up, just loosen it. And it's as if the sling is not even there in the first place. Or, one of my personal favorites, you could pick up the Gat Monkey quick adjustment sling. Let's look at that one real quick. You got a lot of the same ideas here with a quick adjustment sling, but it doesn't have any QDs or ways of attaching it to your gun other than the basic footman's loops. The main reason people choose these slings, though, is their awesome designs. I mean, just look at these. All these designs definitely add some personality and character to your rifle if you're into donuts all over your sling, like I am. Number 6 on our list is a trigger upgrade. Look, your fancy mil-spec trigger is designed for one thing above all else: to go bang under the absolute worst conditions imaginable. And while that's great, it comes at a cost of actual performance. Mil-spec triggers are noticeably heavier, grittier, and tend to have a long, mushy pull. A quick and easy way to upgrade that trigger is to not completely change the trigger out in the first place, but it's to simply upgrade the trigger springs. What do the trigger springs actually do for you? Well, I'm glad you asked, Greg. Changing out your trigger springs can reduce the initial weight you feel when pulling on those heavy mil-spec trigger springs, often bringing the weight down from 6 to 9 pounds down to around 4.5 pounds, making it more comfortable since you're not trying to muscle the gun over just to pull the trigger. If you see your shots going low left consistently, your trigger might be a little bit too heavy, or you just need to get out to the range and spend more time practicing your fundamentals like I do. By reducing that initial resistance before the shot breaks, you can get a much crisper, more predictable trigger reset. This translates to quicker follow-up shots and more enjoyable time out at the range because you aren't wrestling with the firearm as much to get it back on target. Now, if you're willing to spend a little bit more money, you could upgrade the entire trigger, and there are some good options that are not going to drain your wallet and also be a total lack in quality at the same time. If you're coming from a mil-spec trigger, you can grab a nickel Teflon trigger. What this is going to do for you is smooth out that trigger pull. Instead of it feeling a little bit rigid or gummy as you pull, a solid upgrade that isn't going to take all your cash is the Battle Arms Development Enhanced Nickel Teflon Single Stage Trigger. It's got that upgraded coating, making it smoother to shoot, but it still maintains that familiar 6-pound pull weight that most mil-spec trigger shooters are used to. It also costs way less than most other trigger upgrades out there, so this one should be a great starting place if that's what you're thinking about doing. But the one I hear a lot about is the LaRue MBT-2S. When it comes to AR-15 upgrades, LaRue triggers, especially the MBT-2S, are constantly praised for their outstanding build quality, smooth operation, and unbeatable value. But let's get into what all that actually means for a second. For build quality, these triggers are machined from S7 tool steel. Standard mil-spec triggers are often made out of AISI 8620 steel, and they're plenty tough enough for average use. However, S7 tool steel is engineered for high-impact applications like punches and chisels, and they often are superior in terms of their shock, wear, and fatigue resistance. What this is going to mean for us shooters is you get a trigger that can handle tons of shooting without bending out of shape. It feels comfortable to shoot shot after shot with thousands of rounds, and because of those factors, it performs great even if you're shooting a lot really fast, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I believe I know what you are saying.
It's not just the material that LaRue uses either. When I pull this trigger, I can't help but feel the glass-smooth first stage, a clearly defined wall, and a crisp glass-like second stage break. All that complemented by a pronounced tactile, audible reset. When you combine all of these features with its competitive cost, this lands this trigger straight in the best value pick, and it outperforms many more expensive options including the Geissele SSA or the G2S. Next up at number 5, we've got the charging handle. The standard mil-spec charging handle is another part that has clearly seen some design upgrades over the 50 years or so that the AR has been around. The OG charging handle is way too tiny, the latch is only on the left side, and it can be a real pain to use, especially if you've got a large optic mounted right over it. Trying to work that little latch with gloves on under stress is just asking for fumbled movements. Now, I know what a lot of you guys are going to say, and it's probably that you should just upgrade to a super nice Breek or Radian charging handle, but those, while something that I personally run on a lot of my more expensive builds, are going to cost you up to 100 bananas in some cases. So, a way to get a lot of the same ease of use as one of those expensive charging handles is by upgrading the latch on the left side and getting an extended tactical latch. This is one of the most underrated upgrades you could make to your AR, because what this does is it gives you a much wider and larger purchase for your fingers to grab onto. They're way better than the mil-spec charging handle, and it feels much more comfortable and secure when I grab onto it, because racking it with a solid grip can make a huge difference in the comfort of the overall weapon. Some people like to use the claw method when racking their guns, and some people like to come around the right side to rack the charging handle. If you grew up like me using ambidextrous charging handles or using one of these two methods, then yeah, going with an ambi charging handle is fine. But if you're coming from a mil-spec charging handle and you're used to racking from the left, then upgrading that latch will feel like a huge improvement, and all for under 9 bananas or so. I did do some checking on ambi charging handles, and I wanted to find out what the cheapest one was that I could find. For that, if you want to get into the ambi world, the cheapest one you can find is going to be the Strike Industries T-Bone. The biggest reason people go with this is the gas-busting design with the small vents on the back, which vents the gas out the side so you don't have to breathe in those heavy metals. This one has polymer latches, which keeps everything lightweight, but what I don't like about it is that it doesn't feel as premium as some other charging handles out there. But it's only 30-ish bananas, so it's a good deal for gas-busting ambi charging handle out there. If you want to upgrade past that into what I would call the best category, well, I'm always going to recommend the Breek Warhammer. Us around here at AT3 have a ton of these in our personal guns. The big reason is those extended aluminum latches that makes it really easy to grab onto. And you also get a lot of color options for customizing the look of your AR. Speaking of customizing the looks of your AR, another way to do that is with some rail covers. All right, let's break down some rail cover options. Modern AR-15 handguards are covered in either M-LOK or Picatinny rails. And while that's great for mounting gear, those uncovered slots can have sharp edges that dig into your hands. Plus, the handguard itself can get screaming hot if you're putting a few mags through it, or if you're running a buried suppressor with a suppressor-ready handguard, for example. For a good, solid choice, especially if you're running a quad rail, my personal favorite is the Magpul ladder rail covers. They're definitely going to make those sharp edges much more comfortable to hold onto without losing that classic aggressive Picatinny look. Now, if you're rocking an M-LOK handguard and you want to add some personality without breaking the bank, our AT3 tactical rail covers are fantastic. We've got all kinds of designs for under 10 bananas, so you can really customize your setup. But for the absolute best in M-LOK, you've got tons of options from brands like Magpul and Stinger. Magpul's covers are super low profile, yet they feel incredibly sticky and rubbery, giving you an awesome grip. Stinger also offers some really unique designs if you're looking for something different. These are definitely the way to go for top-tier performance and user experience, again, because they just improve that grip so much. Rail covers are definitely one of those super personal things, so let me know in the comments which one you guys recommend. I'd love to hear from you. Moving on to number 3, and I'm going to go with foregrips here. Adding a foregrip to your rifle can significantly improve control and comfort, offering several advantages for shooters of all experience levels. A well-chosen foregrip provides a stronger point of contact, enhancing the stability and reducing muzzle rise. This is going to enhance your ergonomics of your rifle, which is going to make the rifle feel more comfortable to shoot over time. So I do have a few recommendations I got for us here, and I wanted to look at the cheapest one that I could find online first, which is the UTG Ergonomic Ambidextrous Vertical Foregrip. This is probably the grip that I would throw on if I was building a bunch of different rifles in bulk for an alien invasion or something. But to be honest, it's kind of large and old school at this point, but we won't tell that to Josh. We'll keep that between you and me. I don't know that many people who still recommend broomsticking their grip anymore unless you're out for hours on a combat patrol or something like that. But if this is the style that you like, then you've got a solid entry point here. If you want something that's a little bit lighter and more modern and still not going to break the bank, then you could always go with the BCM Gunfighter. This is a much more modernized take on the vertical foregrip, being much lighter at just 1.9 ounces compared to the UTG at 6.7 ounces. It's kind of turned into the gold standard for this design over the years. It's much slimmer and shorter, with the Gunfighter at just 3 inches and the UTG being over 5 inches long. What this means for us is that we can get a modern C-clamp on our handguard rather than broomsticking the thing like the old school GI guys used to do. I'm looking at you, Josh. Some of you guys out there really like counting ounces though, so if you're trying to build out a lightweight gun, then you can skip the foregrip and go with these little Strike Industries Bikini M-LOK hand stops. A pack of 2 of these only costs around 12 bananas, and these guys are going to act more like hand stops, which keeps your hand from traveling too far down the length of the handguard. What's nice about getting the Wombo combo of these 2 hand stops here is that you can use one to brace the stock into your shoulder and maintaining that nice solid grip while staying on target. The other option here is that if you have a handguard with an M-lock slots at 45 degrees, you can mount the second hand stop up at the M-lock slot and have a place to put your thumb. This all depends on your grip style because some people like to grip their handguard with their thumb running forward instead of their thumb running over the top, depending on the handguard. At number 2 is the cheapest, most versatile, and honestly, one of the most effective upgrades on the list. It's tape. Yep, I'm talking about simple hockey tape, goon tape, or even some gaffer tape. For a few dollars, you can radically improve the feel of your rifle. Don't believe me? Go look at pictures of elite special forces units, and you'll see tape on almost all of them to help them do things like retain slings, improve grip, or cable management of things like weapon-like cables. This one's pretty easy, guys, because you can just go to your local sporting goods store and pick up some hockey or skateboard tape and wrap it around your pistol grip or your handguard where the cables are. You could search the internet for tactical tape or goon tape, but honestly, those are probably going to be an upcharge for you to get the same thing you could get at your local store. So I would say just start there and save yourself some money, guys. If you want a full-on comparison of all these types of tape though, hit me up in the comments and we'll make a video all about it. I've been curious myself if all of them hold up the same, so it could be interesting to give them all a fair test. But Josh keeps telling me that's a bad idea, so vote me up in the comments, guys. And finally, the number 1 mod that is absolutely worth the money is a can of spray paint. Now, hear me out just 1 second. This isn't just about trying to make your rifle look cool, though that is a nice bonus. A good paint job is all about function. A solid black rifle sticks out like a sore thumb in literally every natural environment. Breaking up that distinct shape with a simple camo job makes you and your rifle way harder to see. But also, who are we kidding? Painting your gun gives it a unique look, and with just the cost of a couple of cans of paint, you can get an instant gun that looks like it's no longer off the shelf, but it's a one-of-a-kind custom AR. But painting your AR can get a little tricky, and there are some steps you'll want to follow if you want to do it right. If you want to learn more about how to paint your AR from start to finish, then you can check out this video right over here.